Hello, good evening, happy Monday. Welcome back to your live weekly dose of real estate reality. My name is Jackie Baker. I am a local real estate agent here in Northern New Jersey. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And if you're watching on the replay, thanks for coming by and watching. So this week's topic, we have this constant struggle with our low inventory, a lack of inventory in this crazy market. So, how are we going to fix that? Right. I've been talking about this a lot. And how do we fix it? Do I have the answers tonight? I do not. But I think it's time we need to break down numbers, take a look at what would happen if somebody was to sell their house now and either trade up, downsize. What is it going to look? What will that look like for that seller on their mortgage payments? All right. Is it worth it for them with these rates where they are right now? So to answer those questions and to have this discussion, I have my good friend, Bob Wilderotter. Hello, Bob. I'm going to bring you on. Hello, Bob. Thanks for joining us
Jackie,
tonight.
good to see you.
Good to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You've been here before, so we appreciate having you back. So let's talk about this. This is as you know, you and I talked this weekend. I was working with some buyers, and we were in a bidding war again, and we lost it. I don't like losing, but
Yeah.
we lost it. It's because of the inventory. We're still having this issue, and the constant question is, what do we do? How can we get people to sell their houses, right? But you and I have this discussion a lot. Like, what is it going to take for people to? What's going to be the incentive for people to make that move to sell their homes? So, in our discussion, you and I have said, well, what if we had this scenario, right? If somebody was in their house for a long period of time, they're pulling out so much equity now, they're sitting on almost like a pile of cash that they can put down towards the next home and hopefully borrow less, right? With a say 5.5, like high 5 interest rate, is that going to be enough to make people want to make that move and not be afraid to make that move? Because a lot of people have this mindset that they're going to be overpaying. I mean, go ahead.
Well, nothing happens in a vacuum. It's, I remember my mother, thinking that she overpaid for a place. I'm like, but Mom, someone overpaid for your place. So it didn't just happen to you. Nothing happens in a vacuum here. So when the market's up, we're all up. And when we're down, we're all down.
Yeah.
So everyone's dealing with the same set of numbers.
Right.
I think everyone sort of is afraid it's like you're gonna be the last one there that and the joke's on you, that suddenly the floor falls out on housing prices and you're the last person that close on the loan on your house, and then it drops in value like a car would out of a showroom. It drops 10 or 20% in value, which is
right,
which is not really in the realm of possibilities. Short of a catastrophe, like the Ohio train derailment right in your backyard.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But normally, we still in the tri-state area, there's not enough land. The zoning is single family homes primarily, and there's no place to put huge tracts of development like in Florida and the Midwest and the Southwest, where it's just endless land.
Right.
So I don't see that we're going to suffer from an oversupply. The lending criteria that we've been using since the Great Recession have been tighter than ever. So we're not putting in borderline buyers or fraudulent buyers. All these folks have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt they can afford these homes.
Mm-hmm.
We got through COVID. It did affect a lot of people, but the government threw a lot of money at the problem, and I think most came out okay on the other end. They had a forbearance, so there's no looming foreclosure crisis coming our way either.
No,
because of the forbearance allowance. And then take a state like New Jersey, to process a foreclosure is over 1,000 days.
I know.
Right?
I know.
New York, it's just something in New York, by the way, and it'll be interesting to see, but their foreclosure rules got more onerous on lenders, and you may see lenders start to pull out of New York because it's so tilted in favor of people not paying their mortgages. you might even encourage people to just take a dive. And
Really?
yes, yeah. So,
Ay, that's
all these,
crazy.
best intentions have unintended consequences, and you think you're doing good, for someone on one side, but you're encouraging malfeasance on the other. Sort of like, you could talk about, greater society where they're just choosing to ignore things that
Mhm.
is not considered proper behavior or proper ways to manage your life, and we're all supposed to just not, look away. And this
Right.
is just bleeding into the mortgage space too, which
Yeah.
is going to affect rates, going to affect credit criteria. They'll tighten up or they'll step away, and
Yep.
that's not good either.
Right. Right. I agree. I
No,
th um, but, the thing is, yeah, we have all this nonsense going on right now, but the bottom line is, um, the thing that comes to people's minds is the affordability right now, right? It's really flipping hard, especially now at the rates. Where are we at now? Are we over 7%? That's what it
so
was
in
last
some
week.
cases you could be, if your if your credit scores are not, phenomenal, you could be in the low sevens again. So the Fed is there's going to be more pain before we get that relief. So once the Fed signals that their their efforts are causing inflation to dissipate, you'll see the Treasury bonds start to rally, the mortgage-backed securities will rally, and rates, they predict even as early as 2 weeks from now, when the jobs numbers come out and the CPI come out, that it might show that it's all working. The big number is also employment. You don't have a high unemployment number,
Yep.
and that's what's keeping support. That's what's supporting housing right now. So you can have these high rates, but a lot of people are working. They can afford the payments. They're not happy about it, but they can afford it.
Right. It,
Yeah.
it's it blows my mind. Like I was telling you, this bidding war we were involved with over the weekend. I mean, I don't know how many offers. The real estate agent wouldn't reveal that to me, but there was obviously a lot, and people were going way over asking price because the offer we had submitted, offered a lot. My clients offered a lot over asking, and he just said, he goes, "Yeah, you and several others have offered the same price." And I'm like, "Oh my God, with the interest rates right now, how are we doing this?" But it's not holding people back like the feds thought it was going to thought it was going to do what they hoped it would do. I mean, it did
No.
sideline some, but like you said, because the job market's so good, people are still earning a lot of money, and they're also sitting on a lot of money that they can put down, and it's not helping the situation. It's not doing a damn thing, in my opinion.
Well, I think it's demographics. So the millennials are now, hitting that age where they're forming families, and
Hmm.
they want to get out of their New York City apartments, or the rental
Right.
situation, or out of their parents' home. And like you said, I was at an open house in Oakland 3 weeks ago. I ran into three of my buyers, pre-approvals, because I had a big
Really?
poster up. They're like, "Hey, Bob, you're doing my pre-approval there." I'm like, "Oh, good. How's that going?" And
Wow.
it's but they were among 1 in 50 groups that went through,
Hmm.
and that house had 28 offers. God only know it was asking, I think, like 629. It could have hit seven. Who knows?
It probably
Uh,
did. Probably
yeah,
did.
yeah. But
Yeah.
if we're talking about the buyer challenges, if you're not a cash buyer, and even that doesn't win the day,
Yeah.
we do the power bid where we get the loan completely approved. So those buyers, victory favors the prepared, right? So if
Hmm.
you prepare the way, you've got your mortgage out of the way, you see what the payments look like, and you've uploaded all your exhibits, like bank statements can communicate with our software program.
Yep.
We know the balance activity. We connect with what's called the work number, so we can pull in W-2s and updated pay stubs.
Yep.
Once they make that handshake on our system, and many other companies too, we know all the information. We run the credit report. That mystery is solved. All I need is a property, so they
Yeah.
have a rock solid approval. It's like a cash buyer, um, but they may have to get an appraisal done, and that's
Right.
1 in 5 times we get what's called a waiver. And that could
Yep.
be if the property sold in the last few years, or there's other homes in the neighborhood that that the agencies have statistics on and believe that model supports the value.
Right.
So we get those waivers. But we were discussing, one of your clients was putting an enormous down payment, like I think 40% down.
Yep.
And the appraisals are relevant. You're not going to have a house under appraised by more than 5%.
Right.
That's a rarity these days. So if it's a $750,000 home, and and they were asking 689 or 690, all right, you went about 10% over asking. But if it underappraises 5%, $37,000, if you're putting down 25, 30, 40%, your financing relative to the value is still very healthy.
Right.
The lender's not even going to blink.
Right.
Nothing changes. You still get the loan amount you wanted. It's just that the appraiser couldn't do the math to get the value at the purchase price.
Exactly.
Yep. So it doesn't stop anything. It doesn't mean you're coming out of your pocket with more money.
Yeah. And I know, and I call you all the time. Every time I get somebody's poor Bob, I always text you. I'm like, Bob, does this work? He's like, yeah, it's a no brainer. I'm like, okay, sorry, just want to make sure.
But without the 20% down, a lot of the buyers are just getting stonewalled.
Yes, that I know, and that's key. The 20% is definitely key. And I feel bad for those who can't do it. Is it possible? Yeah, people have done it. People have purchased. You and I know we've had clients that have done the 10% and did fine. But in the cases like what we're dealing with now, it's really hard when you're going over asking price. So let's get into this a little bit. Like, so what would it take? I know how I'm going to phrase this. So if we're looking at, if somebody wants to trade up or downsize, right? And they're concerned about the rates right now. Like, what is this going to cost me, right? As a seller, okay? If I'm selling my house, I'm cashing in, I'm pulling out a lot of equity, and I got to buy the next place. What's it going to cost? Like at the end of the day, with these current rates, is I think this is where we have to educate people, right? We have to make them see the numbers and understand it and see if it really works for them.
Yeah. So, you're talking about two different seller classes, right? You've got sellers that want to get their chips off the table and want to go move someplace where they can be cash owners, just go buy a place with whatever they pocketed from the sale, all the appreciation after all the improvements and years they've owned it.
Yep.
And then you have those that are trying to upsize. Now their families or lifestyle's gotten bigger, and they want to take whatever equity they built in this house and move on to a nicer house.
Right.
So with that in mind, that's two different sort of classes of borrower. The one that's upsizing is less worried about rates, I think, because it's a lifestyle, sort of thing to them.
True. That is an excellent point. You're right. It's more about lifestyle. If it's going to improve their quality of life or bring them closer to their job or whatever. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's funny enough, like the rates for jumbo, like by jumbo now is over 750,000, let's call it.
Right.
Fannie Mae keeps raising what they'll do. They'll go to almost 1.1 million for a Fannie Mae loan. That's good and it's bad. It's good because it's very efficient for us as a mortgage banking institution. We're all about Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, and we use the most robust automation out there. So it's very efficient for us to do those type of loans. The jumbo, however, are more handcrafted. They've got to be looked at 2 or 3 times. They need several signature levels. They can have added guidelines that are tighter than what Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac will ask for. But the rates for jumbo are better. They're better by as much as 0.5% compared to someone that's getting a Fannie Mae loan.
Really?
So, there's a tax built into those Fannie Mae loans, like when they were taken over by back in 2008 or 9 or 10.
Right.
When they kept Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac going, they decided, hey, let's put a mortgage tax in there of 0.5%.
Okay.
And that's a servicing equator. So, and that the government, it's another form of taxation.
Okay.
That it's free money to use in the government because people getting mortgages don't even quite know that they're paying it. But on the jumbo version, they're not paying the government for that. So that gets stripped away and you're left with a lower rate as a result of it.
So would it be worth it then? Okay, so you're saying the person who needs to trade up, right, for lifestyle or whatever. So is it worth it for them to just go for the jumbo loan?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I just have a client I'm calling after this. If they insist on making their loan below the cutoff is like 729, something like that. If they put down 40% versus 30, it's
Yep.
going to mean about a 1/4% higher rate with paying a point or more versus
Okay.
a 6.5 rate, no points on a jumbo. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Got you.
yeah.
Got you.
So
Okay.
the difference is, and then if I move them to a 10-year adjustable, which I love those products because loans don't really last that long. They typically refinance out or people move on. A 30-year fix is sort of silly. Just most people just never ride it to the end.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Um, so let's go through that scenario we were talking about before. You got your whiteboard?
Yeah.
Everybody,
Yeah.
Bob's got a whiteboard. This is great.
Well, let's talk about it. So we just pulled out of a hat. Someone wants to downsize. They can own a home that maybe they got a big mortgage on it, and their taxes are pretty hefty, and they want to downsize, but don't want to use all their money up for the downsizing.
Right.
So the downsizes means you want your expenses, your monthly outlay to go lower. Doesn't mean the house has to be smaller. It just means it has to be cheaper,
Right.
in terms of running. So that might mean, moving to Delaware, moving to, the Carolinas, parts of Florida, and other parts not. But, let's say someone says to me, hey, whatever happens, I want keep my payment no higher than $2,000 a month for the principal and interest. And that's where, I did an example. There we go.
Okay. Yep, you're
You can
good.
see
You're
that.
perfect right there. I
So
hope I
that's
hope
two,
everybody can see that. Pay
that's
attention.
2,000 a month, and you can see at a 6.75 rate, that gets me, what is that, $305,000?
305,000, that's the mortgage. That's where
That's the
you're
mortgage payment. Yeah.
yeah, the
Now
mortgage is 305, right? It's
we're
yes.
crying about the rates we used to have when we had a global catastrophe. Remember that? That's what caused all those 3% rates.
I know.
It was a recession, and then it was COVID, which was a global catastrophic event, which drove rates low.
Yep.
So there you go. So there's your mortgage amount in the threes versus the
What
high
you can get
60s.
now.
It's
Right.
almost 150,000 in difference.
150,000. Can you believe that from a year ago?
Yeah,
From a year ago. So a person could borrow $150,000 more than they can today.
yeah, yeah. So, and you can take that. All right, I only want to be 1,000 a month. So the point of this exercise is we're talking about. Well, all right. So let's say I walk away with $500,000 and I want to buy a home in the Carolinas for 400,000, and you know what? I don't want to put all my money into the house because I'd like to have a cushion. So maybe I want to have, I want a $200,000 mortgage. So a $200,000 mortgage would be, probably about $1,300 a month
Hmm.
just for that. And then what if I took $200,000, the other $200,000, and I put it into treasury bills as an example? So I was just looking up the yields, right? Here they are
Wow.
as of today. You see how the 1 year is paying higher?
It's 5%. Wow.
Yeah.
So somebody
That,
could just take that money, put it into a treasury bill and
yeah.
ignore it, and then until and then you're earning what would that be? Like 225? What does that be for the year?
Well, 200,000 at 5% is 20 200,000. It's 10,000, right?
I don't know.
5%.
You're the mortgage
Yeah,
guy.
it's
You do the math.
$10,000. So that's
Okay.
call it 900 a month of income
So you're earning 900 a month, and
on
then
that, which
right,
makes your mortgage payment of $1,300 really feel like it's only $400.
$400
Right.
exactly.
And then ultimately these rates are going to come lower. You refinance that 6.75 rate into
Yep.
probably, let's say, high fours.
Yep.
God forbid we go back to the threes again. That means something is seriously wrong in the global.
Yeah.
In the global world.
We all know. We've
I don't need to
said
play with
it.
fire anymore. I don't. I enjoy doing all those refinances, but eventually, something's
So,
got to give.
and it's funny. Yeah, I talked to you about this earlier. Speaking of refinancing, how much money did you say when is in refinancing? When is he
So
refinancing the past
yeah, this is a
year?
ballpark, but if you go back, pre-COVID, 4 years ago, we were running at about a $2 trillion, $2.5 trillion lending rate of the entire industry, $2.5 trillion, of which about 50% of that were refinances. So
Wow.
figure about there was $3 or $4 trillion of mortgages in the three handle high twos. So that seems to be like we did our job too well, and people are sitting on these low interest rate mortgages.
Yeah.
Now we're sitting here like, where am I going to go? I don't want to pay 6.75%. Okay, I get that, but you're sitting on $500,000, $750,000 of equity,
Yeah.
money you've never had in your pocket. And now the treasury bills, which are, a 1 year treasury bill does not lose value. You don't have to worry about the ups and downs, and it pays an income, and it's not taxable by the states or the
Yep.
cities,
Right.
only by the federal
Yep. Right.
tax and federal. So, you could get that income sort of to subsidize yourself. But the point is you can get off the merry-go-round of owning this big house and sort of wondering how am I going to get out of this house, get a lot of money, go buy something, and
Mhm.
have my budget set up so that I'm super comfortable with my new payments. And we saw that, you can keep the loan amount small, and then you've got the interest income. You could really make this work magically.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
So I'm so glad I brought you on to discuss this. You're always to me, you're always the smartest guy in the room. You always have these answers. And I
well,
just no, but it's good stuff. And I think people just need to be more educated on this, and they need to, don't so the video I recorded today, it's going out next week. It's all about this stupid clickbait again, right? Redfin just came out with a report saying that home prices declined for the first time in 10 years. But do you know how much it came down?
like it,
Less than
like
a point, less than
yeah,
1%. 6.6% it came down. That's it. Like, you're getting people all worked up. Either the buyers are excited, oh, prices are coming down. Sellers are panicking, prices are coming down. They're not even down a full percent. They're not down a full percent. And you know what? When these rates go back down again, where do you think prices are going to go again?
yeah,
They're
yeah.
not going to go down.
But you saw
So
that it's economics, Jackie, right?
I know.
Remember, it's like price elasticity.
Yes.
So if rates are in the threes, I've got $150,000 more borrowing power. That means I could pay $150,000 more for that house,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Versus now, if I couldn't afford more than $2,000 a month plus tax and insurance,
Yep.
then I'm stuck. Like
Yeah.
it's eating into my purchase power. But
Yes.
I think we really want to focus on what can get people to think about selling now, or how do they get out of the house, right?
Yes.
I've got all this equity trapped in my house. Where am I going to go? Is their big question, because there's an inventory shortage. So
Right.
it becomes sort of a vicious cycle of everyone clinging on to everything.
Right.
Um, so you have to map out an exit strategy, which I can help with. You'll get an equity line on the house before you list it, right? Get
Yes.
that in place. You can go to certain credit unions or banks. We even have some $250,000 you can get rather routinely. And that's enough to get you like a large down payment for the next house you want to buy. Some people can afford to swing, maybe there's an overlap of a week or two, or maybe purposely it's going to be an overlap of a month or two or three,
Yep.
while they get the other house that was, downsized, or maybe it's not, like I said, it may need a lot of work. They don't want to live through the mess. So you could use that equity line as a bridge and get financing on the house you're buying,
Yep.
and whatever mortgage you have on the house you're keeping, that you're moving out of. And then the equity line kind of solves that difference. Now,
Yes.
if the house is already for sale, then that kind of that discounts a lot of the mainstream home equity lenders. There are more specialty lenders that we can recommend or we work with that'll let you pull equity out even though the house is for sale.
Yep.
Higher rates, higher fees, versus if you prepare ahead of time, lower rates, nominal fees to do.
Yep.
And those
Yeah.
take like 6 weeks to get done. I'll talk about the first example, but the ones that are, more like going to a 7-Eleven for convenience of getting this equity loan in a hurry, like 5 days type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There your rates could be 9, 8, 9, 10% with fees.
Oh, no,
But
thank you.
but
Yeah.
maybe thank you, maybe so,
Yeah.
because maybe you're good. That house you've been looking at for 10 years suddenly on the market,
Yep.
and you've got to pounce on it, and you've got to make this happen, and you can't get money any faster than that. Yeah, guess what?
Yeah.
You
True.
accomplished what you meant to do. Yes, it was a little more painful, but in the end, you got what you wanted, and there you go. So
Exactly.
sometimes there's a little bit of pain involved for a temporary period of time that to make this all happen. We talked about when I was discussing other things. You can delay your closing if you're selling. You can
Right.
ask buyers, "Hey, give me a use and occupancy. Let me stick around." Now you got to be careful with that because they're supposed to occupy the home within 30 days. That's what they're representing.
Right.
Now, if they don't move in because you have an agreement that they can't move in till you're out, as long as they're making the payments, generally there's no problem. But if for some reason the buyers of your house stop making payments,
Mm-hmm.
maybe because you're not paying them, then all sorts of trouble breaks out for the
Right.
buyer.
Exactly.
It's their problem.
Exactly.
Other remedies, if you don't want to be in that situation where you're renting from strangers, you can have an extended closing period.
Yep.
So you can sell your house, put it on the market today, and say not closing till September 30th.
Right.
Or sooner. And so the buyers kind of, well, what do I do if rates go to 8.5 or 9%?
Right.
Well, you can do is, as a seller, you can meet them halfway. It's all right. Your lender will give you a rate lock for 6 months. Show me what that costs. I'll cover half of that.
That's a good one too. That's I like that option
when
too.
those rates float down, if rates get better, they get the better rates. It's a win-win.
Exactly.
So you're the owner of the house. They're approved, all set to go. And then come September or August, whatever it is, whenever they find where they're going to go, they get out.
Yeah.
And then you're able to close, and your rate hasn't gotten away on you. Or worse, the rates got so bad, your approval's not good anymore because the cost to carry that mortgage just went beyond your qualifications.
Right. Okay.
So that's another great tip to do.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm seeing a lot of comments popping up here, Bob. I don't mean to cut you off, but let's do, John, we got some comments on here. Can you help me out? There we go. Tracy Godfrey, my girlfriend. How are you, honey? House in Glen Ridge this past weekend. Open houses on Saturday and Sunday. Asking $625. We offered $750 with 20% down and a $37,000 appraisal waiver. We were 7th out of 19 offers. 7th. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
I think
Tracy.
that was a great offer. And generally that was, I think, a very smart offer to do. I think you really thought through how you take out the uncertainty with giving like appraisal bumpers in case it goes soft. That you can handle that. But in the end, it's the price times safety.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Price and certainty. If the highest offer has the biggest down payment or is cash, versus the best offer could be 5% down and $50,000 more than yours, but they're not the safest offer.
Right.
So you got to kind of figure out on the matrix which is really the best way to go.
Well, right. Well, that's why my people lost out, because they had a cash offer. It was lower than ours, but it was a cash offer. So
yeah, when you're putting out 30 or 40%, honestly, Jackie, you are a cash buyer. I mean, come on.
Thank you.
There's no, short of losing your job, and you know what? My parents sold their house, had a cash buyer, and guess who backed out? The cash buyer.
Yeah.
Had health issues. And
okay.
What do you say? Like, oh, let me see your.
But you got a point there. Right, but you got a point there. So, you have a cash buyer, something happens with their lives. They're like, I need that money. I'm not buying this house now. So that, there's risk with any offer that's out there. I'm sorry. Even if it is cash, you are so right. But it's just, look, from the seller's perspective, and I've worked with many sellers, and we've had the cash offer situation happen before, and I get it. It's peace of mind for them, and you can explain it every which way and sideways, and it's because they don't have to worry about the appraisal. That's the sticking point that in this market that sellers are worried about, is that stupid appraisal. But like you
Yeah.
said, somebody's putting 40% down. It's a non-issue. It's a non-issue, but
Right.
they need to be better educated on that, right? People need to be better educated to understand that it is just as good as a cash offer. It is, because the appraisal is not going to matter. It's not an issue.
Well,
So,
it's a zero risk strategy from the seller's point of view, which I think
right,
is short-sighted. So if your buyers were, 10 or 20,000 higher on their offer with a 40% down payment, no way in a million years would I take that cash buyer.
hmm,
I would think that your client was a certainty. And in fact, they laid more groundwork to get themselves prepared to
right,
buy the home, frankly. They apply for
yeah,
their mortgage, and that's all set. So these are folks that they've set the playing field. The victory
yep,
goes to the prepared.
right.
Someone cash, they could tend to be flaky. Sorry, cash people, if you're on this you're on this call, but they said they put it in, they take it away. They put it in, they take it away. They
Yeah,
think they can manipulate people with cash.
it,
That and there's
you're
no
right.
consequences
You're
as a
so right.
result. They think differently. That everyone has to bargain with that, their way. It's a one-way conversation because of
I
the
know.
cash. Um,
It's very frustrating, and I think
yeah,
because they feel like they hold the cards because
yes.
they're cash. I, I
Yeah,
don't
and then
care.
see what happens when the home inspection time comes, and then all of a sudden they're very unreasonable because
Yes,
they never had any intention of paying that cash. They just
exactly.
took it off the market, wasted everybody's time. So you need to deal with a realtor who's reputable,
Yep.
Jackie,
And
and
yep,
with clients that are very well vetted, that aren't going to pull the chair out from under everybody. When
exactly.
it's go time.
Yep. So, all right, moving on. Andrew Lawler. Hello, Andrew. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Super low. Put an offer in 20K over ask. Lost out to a cash buyer yesterday. I'm so sorry to hear that. Discouraging as a first time buyer. Feels like housing is more of a blind auction than a supply and demand market. You know, I hear you, because when I will tell you, when my client said, "What should we offer in this house?" And you've heard me say this before, and I know Tracy will agree with me on this one. You can't, and Bob, I'm sure you will too. We can't tell you what to offer on it. We can't. And you can look at the comps every day, twice a day, and evaluate, analyze it, and it doesn't matter. It's how much are you willing to spend? How much are you willing to go over that asking price, and are you comfortable with it? It's your level of comfort. And of course, can you afford it? You got to run your numbers and make sure that the numbers jive and you're going to be able to pay this mortgage. But in this market, it's we're back to, how bad do you want it? It's not about what do you think this house is worth, how bad do you want it? That's what it is. So Tracy, you
Yeah,
totally agree. Tracy's with me.
Jackie, would you also agree? I always call it the rule of five, when, and it's less so now, but the buyers I'd work with would want to come in low or a little below asking, just to test. They weren't quite sure. So they don't want to feel foolish. So they'd underbid, or
Okay.
they just go with whatever asking prices, or just slightly over.
Yeah.
Strike one, strike two, strike three, strike four, strike five. By the fifth try, I think they're so well informed. What is the value? What I've lost out on versus what these things went for.
Yep.
Certainly, you could plot what you offered it. You got bolder and bolder and bolder and kept losing, and then you're like, I'm going for this house. This now checks all the boxes. I wasn't so sure on these other houses, but now that I've seen 30 homes and I put offers on 5 homes, this is the one, and I'm going to make that happen.
Yep.
That's where you tend to get really serious, and that's when you may, wow, I can't believe I made this offer on this house, but I'm determined to get it. I just had this with a client the other day. They just tiptoed in. They went 10 grand over asking, and they got blown out of the water. And it was first best and final, right? That best and
Mhm.
final thing.
Yep.
What's the secret on that, Jackie? Best and final is never best and final.
No.
There's always another final. And these people came back and bid substantially higher and won out everything. So I had to rework the pre-approval and tell the realtor, yes, they're for real. And yeah, and they got the house. I was like, wow.
Wow.
They just
Oh,
threw out
that's
all the
good.
bids. Yeah. Yep.
Yay. Good for them. I'm happy
Yeah.
for them. It just
That's for the ones that thought they won. Yeah.
yes.
But yeah, that once you know what you want, you go for it. And that's
You do.
an education process, filtering
Yep.
through things, right?
And if they're fearful of overpaying, I mean, look, the market always appreciates. I mean, and like you said, it's not like you're buying a car, driving it off the lot, and it depreciates by like $10,000. That's not the case when you're buying a house. So, look, I don't want anybody to overpay. Even this particular house that we lost a bidding war. I mean, my client was like, he was willing to go astronaut, like really high over, and I said, you do that and I'll kill you because the house is not where I could tell you right now. I don't care what market we're in right now, like that you're overpaying. Where they came in, I thought it was fair. But again, we lost cash. So that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what we're up against.
cash, for everyone that that's listening, when a cash buyer presents themselves, they have to show proof of funds.
Right. Yep.
Right. So they've got it. You got to see that in the account. Now, there are a lot of cash buyers and money's not here in the U.S. They got to move it over here from wherever they come from.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
Yep.
And they may end up getting a mortgage anyway.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. But do you remember the fake cash offers? I saw that last year on one of my listings. Somebody said that they had cash, they provided the proof of funds, they had their not their IRA, that their investments
Yeah.
that they submitted, and only to find out they were delaying the closing because they were waiting because the closing of their home was being delayed. And I said, wait a minute. First of all, this wasn't a sale contingency. Number two, you have the cash. I thought this is cash. You weren't relying on those proceeds. And they're like, oh, no. We're still cash. And if we have to, we'll pull the money out of the retirement fund. Like,
Yeah.
oh, no, that's what it was. They are getting but they were getting a mortgage. They were. And that was the other thing too. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? You didn't tell me this. So I had that last year. And I heard many people doing that. They were
Yes.
putting up all of these bank statements only
Well,
to get a mortgage on the back end.
there's a price to pay for the cash.
Yeah.
Like if someone with 750,000 in a checking account at like 0.1% interest, most of the people have it invested in equities, right, or mutual funds,
Yeah.
things like that, bond funds. So when they take this cash out, it could have been $500,000 like 8-10 years ago, and now they got capital gains, right? So 750,000, after you pay the tax man, that's really worth about 675,
Right.
650.
Yep.
So they really prefer not to do that. It's just there in case, like I said, that the financing falls through or the sale of their home falls through. Then they have, basically that's the last resort to use that.
Yeah.
So they're showing that, like, I've got this insurance policy, quote unquote, that if come hell or high water, I'll be able to close. And that brings me to another point was retirement funds. That was another example. Like, you want to go buy a house, let's say out of the area, or it's a cheaper price.
Yep.
Your house is for sale, and you can't get that house to sell soon enough to go get the next house.
Right.
You can empty out your IRA account, and as long as you replace it within 60 days, give yourself like a personal bridge loan.
Yes.
I'm not sure that people may not be aware of that, but you could do that once a year. Like if you, say you got, all your 401k got moved to an IRA, because you can't do it from a 401k, by the way. You can only have 50,000.
Oh, you can't do it from you can't pull all your money out of a 401k.
Only an IRA, because the 401ks are held by the employers.
Got it.
At best, you can get 50,000 as a loan, which is also, it's not chump change, but that's another resource you could borrow against pensions or your 401k, 403bs, which are like hospitals and nonprofits, teachers, like that. You can get 50,000. It's a payroll loan essentially, and you can pay it back over time, or when you settle up everything, you just pay it back.
Right.
But the same thing with the IRA, you can literally use all of it, and as long as it's replaced within 60 days.
Within
There's
60
no tax.
days. Right. And then you're getting taxed on that. Okay.
Yeah,
All
otherwise
right.
you're paying taxes.
I didn't realize that with the 401k that there was a limit on that. I don't know why I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Okay. So really quick, Tracy again. Our best and final, highest and best here in Jersey is just that. There's no negotiation. Very rarely do you get to negotiate. Sometimes you don't even get a call from the agent. I at least got a text today, Tracy, to tell me we'd lost. Bob, really quick, we just have to cut over to our other segment right now because my little producer has to run out. So Johnny, let's go on to our favorite segment. This is Tracy's favorite segment too. Bring it up. What were they thinking? Okay, so let's bring up the bad MLS photos for this week. So John, let's hit it. Okay, Bob, I hope you can see this. This was the comments on this listing. It says here, house has not been cleaned out and does have a dead raccoon in the wall. Please be aware of the dead raccoon is half in and out of the wall, but does not smell. The property is being sold as is. John, bring up the next picture. Let's see that dead raccoon. Who in the hell would buy this house? Do you see it? The freaking dead raccoon hanging out of the house, hanging out of the wall.
A little Febreze, it's all good.
Exactly. Well, no, they said it doesn't smell, so it's just a little. Look, if you want a fur, you want like a fur coat or something, or like a whatever. Well, yeah, okay. Johnny, move on. What's the next? What else do we got? Okay, in case you didn't know what you're supposed to do in a bathroom, here you go. You have all the instructions. Don't forget to flush, wipe, and wash your hands. Because, God knows we all need that. Okay, Johnny, next one. Okay, I love this. The kitchen. Do you see that, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay, because, it looks like something out of a horror movie, and they want you to make sure that it is the kitchen. Who does this? Who does this? Tracy, who does this? Tell me. All right, Johnny, next one. Okay, something tells me that the roof leaks by that umbrella hanging from the ceiling. I don't know. I'm not a contractor, but something tells me that there's a leak problem there. So, yeah. All right. Thanks, Tracy. I know these are the best. John, do we have another one? Or was that it? That was it. Okay. That was our photos for the week. So, anyway, getting back. Thanks, Tracy. I do have a comment here I want to bring up here. Fast NA, thanks for coming back. Glad you are here. Best not to deal with the non-negotiable buyers. There are no homes in the market, and in the end, the seller has a low APR and a home to sit on. Yep. Well, yeah. I mean, you're right. Sorry. What do you think about that one, Bob?
Well, again, there's a lot of at some point in time, depending where you are in your life, if you're retiring soon, the boomers are all aging out.
Yeah.
And the income's going to change. So, all right, you've got a great rate, but if you're in northern New Jersey, as an example, your taxes are probably over 15 grand, maybe 20.
Yep.
So you start collecting Social Security. That's about maybe if you start young, 2,000 a month, 1,800 a month, and that just goes from the government to the other government.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're all right with that, or eventually something's got to give, I always say while things are good and while you're in good health and in good financial condition, that's the time to do it. While things are good. When things are desperate and you don't know how the market could turn, right now the market is, there is a shortage of inventory. There is a demographic issue where you've got a lot of millennials that are, trying to form households. But if this recession that they're trying to push on us by raising rates higher and higher and higher becomes a reality, and you see a lot of unemployment happening, things will turn mightily. So you could see values drop, and then all of a sudden you can't make mortgage payments. So it could be if you need both jobs to meet the mortgage payment, the taxes, and the obligations, and it'd be nice to have $500,000, whatever it may be, in the bank at 5%, or say with treasury bills, and then you could just decide to rent somewhere, don't have all these bills, but everyone's got their own individual situation. But you have to be kind of look 5-10 years from now,
Yeah.
and what sort of major repairs are looming.
Right.
Septic systems, wells, what's going to break. That's
Right.
going to be of a 20, 30, 40, $50,000 caliber
Yep.
worth of repairs. How you going to deal with that?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Okay.
And what I did find, Jackie, is we've had low rates before, and then fast forward 5-7 years later, they had that really nice low rate on, and then they had a huge equity loan or tons of credit card debt on top of that to save that low rate.
Mm-hmm.
So you end up having, when the battle, lose the war. So you
Mm-hmm.
have all this equity trapped in the house, but you have a little mortgage of 130,000 because you paid it down so dutifully, but the credit cards are 100 grand,
Yeah.
and car pay,
That's a
whatever
problem.
other debts, or an equity loan which is tied to prime, and that's suddenly due. These
Yeah.
equity loans can't go on forever. You do have to eventually pay them back.
So let me. I'm curious. What do you think? I mean, they've been trying to push this recession, like you said. Do you have? I don't see the job market really changing. Although you're hearing about these layoffs, like Google and them. They laid like what 10, 12,000 people up. But I mean, these are companies that are like behemoth size
Yeah.
organizations. So I mean, that's a drop in a bucket. The
Mhm.
people that they laid off. What's your gut telling you? I mean, you watch this stuff every day. You see what's going on in the market. Do you think we're going to have a job market problem? There's going to be job losses. What do you think?
Um, Certain sectors, yeah. Certainly, the mortgage industry is in really bad shape.
Yeah,
There's going to be a reckoning, in another 3 weeks, when all the financials have to come in, all these mortgage companies. So
I
we'll see
know.
who survives that one. But yeah, you will have industries that suffer, and others can't get enough people, but they're not necessarily high paying jobs. So
Hmm.
it all depends. I always think the New York area is always sort of bulletproof. DC area, because it's all government workers, is bulletproof, recession proof. Um, but other areas can be more reliant upon one or two industries, can get in deep trouble quickly.
Right. Yep. Now, when you're saying about like the mortgage companies are probably going to be suffering. I mean, that worries me a little bit. Not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
yeah.
That really worries me. But look, it is what it is. But then who knows where we're gonna be a year from now? Then they'll probably, be hiring
Well,
people left and right. You don't know.
yeah. I mean, to get people's skill set, to a level that they can do their jobs in our industry, it's a very specialized skill. you
Yeah.
know, Becoming, a clerk to a processor level, like you got to be a technologist and deal with people and understand guidelines and programs as they keep evolving and changing. And then the technology says, look, it's better this way now. And then you have to unlearn things and learn new things, and
Mhm.
underwriters and so forth. So all this stack of people that took you decades to accumulate and train and get them, very competent, when the business is down 60-70% from 2 and 3 years ago,
Yeah.
those people are getting laid off, and I don't know if they're ever coming back again. you know
Yeah,
they're
kind of.
older, 50, in their 50s and 60s, a lot of these people, so they
Yeah.
may be done. And it's going to be up to a bunch of like college interns trying to get your mortgage done. So we'll see how that goes.
Don't say that.
Yeah,
Please don't say that. And please don't
yeah,
ever leave your job. Don't get laid
yeah.
off, please.
I think I have one of those jobs where I'm gonna die with a calculator in my hand and
Y
a pre-qualification letter going. But
I
no
think
one,
you
no
will.
one comes into our industry anymore. It's like I'm like the average age of a loan officer. It's not.
Really?
Yeah, the kids aren't looking for these type of jobs. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, it's just.
Well, it's not an easy job. I see what you guys go through day in and day out, and same with real estate agents. I mean, we talked about this last week where we could be working with somebody for like a year, and you get the same thing. I mean, you and I have lost people. Like we'll just be working with somebody and they ghost us. We're
Yeah,
like, what happened is put all this time into it and without driving around showing houses and where'd they go? You
Well,
know?
that's the technology curtain
Yeah.
that, you don't have the sort of relationship that you had. Like, it was a telephone relationship. The best relationship is when you're meeting with people in person. It's
Hmm.
hard to reject people in person. That's why they never want to meet with anybody, because they know they're gonna fall in love with you, and then they're not gonna want to, like, leave you. But so they
Right.
try to use the technology. It's just like, I just want to kind of see what's going on. It's like, let me see your menu before I go into the restaurant, sort of thing.
Yep.
But they're gonna do it online. You don't even know they looked. Um,
Yep. Oh,
so
it's
yeah,
it's
they,
amazing.
they could just disappear out of thin air. They appear out of thin air, and they disappear into thin air.
Yeah.
Um, but I can tell you that, we had this experience with a client, you and I, where they were going down the conveyor belt as an FHA loan.
Yep.
And I said, let me take a look. Something doesn't sound right. The down payment sounds too good to be going FHA, and it's what I suspected. And I helped get their credit scores improved and got them into conventional financing, no PMI. And these are things that, when you're seasoned and you know how the best products and outcomes for clients can be, as opposed to
Yep.
just, here's the only solution, let me shove you into the solution, whether you like it or not, or it's good for you or not. Because
Right, but I mean, thank God for that. Thank God
yeah,
I made her call you because it didn't make sense to me either. Because when I got the pre-approval, I'm like, "Why are you FHA?" And then she wasn't 100% sure. She's like, "I'm not really sure." And I'm like,
yeah.
"No,
What what
it
what
doesn't make
else?
sense."
What
So
else? What else wasn't going to happen if she did her pre-approval with an FHA?
she probably would not have gotten the
The,
offer accepted
the
because of the
sellers
whole
would
appraisal
have been,
thing.
yeah, the
Right,
parties on the other side would have waved away FHA. Oh, there's something wrong with them.
right.
They're not strong buyers. Move on.
Right, and
And
yeah, let's be
so,
real. That's just I
yeah,
hate to say it, but FHA is a stigma in some cases,
it is. It's a
in this
great product.
market.
It's a great product. In fact, they just improved it now that the mortgage insurance now reduced by 35 basis points.
Yep.
That's huge. But still, it still carries.
Sorry.
Some people it has a little stigma because it's people with low down payments, credit scores are not
Right.
perfect, or other life occurrences that FHA can handle. But it's a wonderful product in my view. But it's the low down payment buyers are really suffering.
I
You know,
know. It's
terribly.
unfortunate. It's really
Yeah,
unfortunate, because you're right, it is a good product, that's the reality of it, right? It's in this market, and your average normal market, the product is great, people aren't
yeah,
wouldn't bat
yeah,
an eye on it, and, I had clients accept offers with FHA loans. We didn't even bat an eye, 6, 7 years ago.
yeah,
Now, no, you can't do that. But I mean, I do have to say, I got to tell everybody here, like, kudos to Bob because we just closed on that deal. What was it, a week ago? That
yeah,
deal that you helped me get. So thank you
yeah,
for that. And they're very happy clients. So we got another comment here. New York City is in trouble because of remote working. Some states like Florida embraced remote working, and so many companies and workers relocated. This is a huge deficit in workers in New York City. Recent article. Uh, yeah, a lot of people, and I heard this not recently. It was a while ago. A lot of companies are moving out of New York. They're getting the heck out of there, and I think it's because of number one, the expense, and because people can work remotely. They were like, why do I have this office space now? And the safety of New York City. Let's be real. It's not what it used to be. New York City's not the safest place right now.
well, yeah, you could say that on, the news will make it seem worse than it is. But I think we got to figure out that combination of live work um, things, because because the young people that are working today, they don't have this sort of mentorship that we got in our careers.
Right.
So when I can go, have a cup of coffee, talk to my boss or underwriters or other people that, told me stories about how things worked or didn't work or how they solved it, what opportunities were arising, just chit chat, you know,
Yeah,
all sorts of networking opportunities
I
that
know.
you don't get on the Brady Bunch call, right? The
No,
minute the minute that Zoom call is over, you're done.
you don't
Well,
exactly.
And it's my daughter's a nurse, so she has to have personal interaction with people. My son's an accountant, and he goes in maybe once a week, and no one's there.
Yeah.
So I
It's
just
amazing. I couldn't even
yeah
imagine that.
yeah
My first job out of college, I was in an office. I worked at AT&T. It was great, socializing. And you're right, that very thing. You have mentors. You're learning from your elders, I should say, or like the people who've been around the block for a while. And
yeah.
they, it's sad. It's just a sad state of affairs that we're in. That's just
But it does help. I've had clients that work for a San Francisco outfit or a company in London, and they can work remotely. So it does open up the suburbs quite a bit, and probably putting some of the pressure on real estate because people
yeah.
can live and work anywhere. But it is going to Florida is a biggie, and going out down to Texas is another big one
Yep.
because they can just be where they want to be and have a great fun alternate life.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that. I would have definitely wanted to do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can get behind that too. I mean, I can
Yeah,
appreciate that, But
yeah,
all right. So Bob, we are almost at an hour. Oh my God. It was a long
yeah.
time.
Wow.
Well, I appreciate you being
Yeah.
here. This was really good. Um, Before people hop off, just really quick, I got to plug my new website. If you haven't seen it yet, if anybody needs to get a hold of me, they want to get a reference for a real estate agent in the area that you live in, or if you want to reach out to me and hold on a second. If you want to receive, my producer's gone. Now I got to do it all myself. If you want to reach out to me and discuss either selling or buying your home here in New Jersey, this is my lovely new website. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can fill out that form. It says contact me today. Fill that out, and I will reach out to you. I will get back to you within 24 hours. Isn't that great? And she'll let my little thumbnail on that video. I did a good job on that one. So that's how you guys can get a hold of me. And if you would love to talk to Bob, which I highly recommend, hold on a second. I will leave Bob's contact information in the description box below this video. I'll leave your cell. Is that good, Bob? Your cell and
That's the only
email?
phone I use. Yeah, they put an office number there. I don't even know where it rings.
Okay.
It's my cell. I'm like, where is this number coming from? You put on there. I don't even know where that's going.
All right, cool. So I'll
Yeah.
have Bob's cell phone and his email there if you want to get in touch with him. You have any questions about getting a mortgage, or just, pick his brain, what would it look like for you if you wanted to sell and buy right now? Run some numbers. I can tell you he's the smartest guy in the room. He can walk you through every scenario and help you achieve that goal. So
Thanks,
all
Jackie.
right. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here this week. And if you're watching this on the replay, do me a favor, like it and share the video too, because somebody else out there may need this information. All right, everybody have a great week, and I will see you next Monday. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.